In a world of shadows, loyalty has a price. He was the best, an elite assassin who walked away from the game. But when his mentor is taken, Danny Bryce is pulled back into a deadly conspiracy stretching from the war-torn Middle East to the streets of London. 3 targets, 1 impossible mission, and a secret brotherhood that kills without a trace. Jason Statham, Clive Owen, Robert De Niro. This fall, the hunter becomes the hunted. Killer Elite, based on a true story. In 1980, Danny was a notorious assassin and currently specialized in taking assassination orders at exorbitant prices. But with his extremely classy and professional ability to stage the scene, he became increasingly in demand. Today, like any other day, Danny received another new order. He, along with his 3 close friends, Hunter, Davies, and Meyer, took on the mission to assassinate a tycoon in Mexico. They had planned and had been lying in wait here for a very long time. The security car in front was blown up to cut off the tycoon. Then Hunter stepped on the gas, shifted gears at lightning speed, blocking the escape route of the car behind. Next, he got out of the car and opened fire towards them, forcing the driver to accelerate forward. Then Danny shot out the tires, forcing the driver to stop, then planted a bomb to blow the door open. During the chaos, he quietly took care of the 2 bodyguards and the rich man. But just then, Danny suddenly stopped. It turned out he spotted a child, making Danny feel a sense of guilt. While Danny was stunned, the police also arrived and shot him in the shoulder. His buddy Hunter saw this, quickly came to the rescue, dragging Danny away. Luckily, Davies arrived with the car just in time, and they successfully escaped. In the end, the mission was completed, but with a slight stumble. But after this incident, Danny wanted to wash his hands and hang up his sword. He felt the guilt within him growing larger and decided to give up this line of work. 1 year later, Danny returned to his homeland in Australia to raise fish and grow vegetables. He spent a large sum of money to buy a farm, living peacefully and happily with his girlfriend Anne. But the happiness didn't last long when Danny received a letter that made him sigh. Inside was a photo of Hunter being held captive. Looking at him now, he looked like nothing more than a wreck. At this moment, Danny's mind was in turmoil, but in the end, he still chose to go save his friend. Danny immediately followed the address in the letter to Oman. He met an agent named Asen who led him to the kidnapper's lair. There he met the oil sheik named AMR. It turned out that Western powers wanted to seize all the oil resources, so they had caused a war in AMR's territory. But unfortunately, his 3 sons were unfortunately assassinated while he was lucky enough to be rescued by his youngest son and wandered to many other places. After many years of secret investigation, he finally found the culprits. But he was utterly powerless because these 3 culprits were former Special Forces soldiers. This was too difficult for his capabilities. So AMR had offered $6 million to hire an assassin to take revenge for him, and Hunter had taken this job, but he had failed, making the old man furious. Now Danny, if he wanted to save Hunter, he not only had to complete the order in his place, but he also had to stage the scene like an accident so that the old man's youngest son would not be implicated. Along with that was filming a confession video of them, and the mission had to be completed before the old man kicked the bucket due to his terminal illness. Danny agreed to AMR's request and was allowed by the old man to meet Hunter briefly. When Danny saw Hunter's miserable state, he was extremely angry and decided he would break him out of here. Danny immediately asked the jailer to get him a glass of water. Then when he came in, Danny knocked him down and dragged him out. Knocking on the door, the guard thought it was his colleague and came out. But unexpectedly, he was knocked to the floor by Danny. Next, he took a piece of bread, stuffed it into the gun as a silencer. Nicely took out 2 others, but the opponent shot back, forcing Hunter to step in. The gunfire alerted the henchmen outside. They immediately rushed in, and both sides started a shootout. After a while, Danny struggled to open the door to the outside, but ended up being blocked by the youngest son. It turned out it was all a trap that the oil sheik had prepared beforehand, because he wanted to take this opportunity to test Danny's abilities. With no other choice, he had to agree to follow the old man's request. So Danny immediately rushed to fly to London that very night to take action. To avoid repeating Hunter's mistakes, he sought out his 2 former teammates, Davies and Meir, for help. There he recounted everything to the 2 of them and hoped they would undertake the mission with him. Danny wouldn't take the reward money, but would divide it all among them. Hearing the reward was a full $6 million. Both their eyes lit up like car headlights, and they agreed immediately and on the spot. The 3 quickly discussed the plan, and Davies started gathering intelligence. But his actions were too obvious. making the pub owner suspicious. He immediately called a social organization protecting former Special Forces veterans, and Logan sniffed out something unusual, quickly reported to his superiors, and simultaneously sent someone to follow Davies. Meanwhile, Danny's team had flown to the Middle East for the mission. They had targeted the first objective, a guy from the former Special Forces named Harris. This hard case seemed very difficult. After a period of surveillance, Danny found his residence. After that, the three sought out some local people here to buy some tools to create the fake scene. Next, Danny broke into his house unnoticed and pried up the tiles in the bathroom. The next day, Danny brought the tiles he had pried up back to Meyer. It turned out they planned to stage the fake scene as an accident where someone slipped, hit their head on the ground, breaking a tile. So, they attached the tiles onto a hammer. Just then, Logan's subordinate was surveilling them and managed to take a photo of all three. But with the instincts of an assassin, Danny could detect someone was watching him, so they quickly drove off in pursuit. Logan's subordinate ran for a distance, then jumped into a hole to hide. But unfortunately for him, Danny followed through a pre-dug tunnel in pursuit. With no other way, Logan's man could only smash a beehive, making them swarm chaotically, and took the opportunity to escape. The next day, Danny and Mir disguised themselves as journalists to approach Harris's villa. Danny went inside and pulled out his piece, making Harris confused like an owl, thought it was a robbery in broad daylight. But unexpectedly, the two set up a camera to interrogate him about whether he had dealt with the oil sheik's son. He wasn't scared at all, admitting he himself had done it. The mission to film the confession scene was successful. Danny then went into the bathroom, took shampoo, and poured it on the floor. After that, he took the tools he had, prepared earlier to create the accident scene. Next, Mir chased him into the bathroom at gunpoint. But just as the two were about to act, his girlfriend came to visit. With no choice, Danny hid behind the wall, ready to adapt to the situation. Meanwhile, Harris's girlfriend screamed for help with all her might, but to no avail. When Danny returned to the bathroom, Meyer had already finished dealing with Harris. Although there was a slight hiccup, they finally completed the objective. They proceeded to the second target. After investigating, Davies learned that this hard case, Craig, was still active in the Special Forces and had dealt with the oil sheik's second son. Every day, besides going to the hospital to care for his elderly wife, he spent the rest of his time at the barracks. Knowing this guy had a training trip on a snowy mountain, the team had to seize the opportunity to act. Danny went to the hospital disguised as a dentist and stole some anesthetic drugs. But as he was about to leave, he ran into Logan. He remembered the photo his subordinate sent him, confirmed it was him, and sensed something was wrong. Danny immediately accelerated and ran straight out to the main road. The two started chasing each other like cat and mouse. But this guy was extremely hard to shake off, so Danny changed direction and went into another hospital. But this guy stuck like a leech. He also quickly followed, forcing Danny to reveal himself. A clash was inevitable. One side was a top-tier assassin. The other was an excellent soldier in the army. The two fought incredibly evenly, so Danny wrestled him to the floor. But Logan immediately smashed a bottle over his head. Furious, Danny delivered a finishing blow to this hard case's family jewels, then quickly got in the car and left the scene. The next day, the team continued their operation. Danny put on a soldier's uniform and successfully infiltrated the barracks. He identified Craig before the training session began. Taking the opportunity when the target wasn't paying attention, Danny put the anesthetic into his water cup. As soon as the drug dissolved, Craig had already downed the entire cup of water. Just as planned during the training session, the drug took effect. Danny approached him and interrogated him about the incident where he dealt with the old man's second son while Davies was already filming. And in the harsh weather, Craig had to meet his ancestors. This second target went too smoothly. But Logan, after watching on TV, saw it confirmed that Craig had met his ancestors due to the harsh weather, and he knew damn well this was Danny's doing. Meanwhile, after completing the second task, Danny's group started planning for the final target named Simon, the one who had dealt with the oil sheik's third son, perhaps the toughest nut to crack because he was Logan's close friend. This guy had a short fuse. Seeing someone scratch his car, without many words, he alone beat up 4 or 5 young punks. Danny and his teammates devised a battle plan. After investigating, Danny learned that this guy had been unemployed for a long time. So he disguised himself as the director of a transport company and invited Simon for an interview. The team snuck into a transport company in the middle of the night to hack into the control system of a truck. The next morning, Simon accepted the invitation to come for the interview. Danny would follow behind to report his position while Mir would control the transport system remotely. At this time, the employee who drove the truck also arrived for work. Waiting until he turned onto the same route as Simon, Danny immediately overtook and blocked him with help from Jake. Then Davies signaled Mayer to take control of the system, making the driver unable to control the truck anymore. At this moment, Simon also arrived. Waiting until his car reached the desired speed, Mayer steered the truck into the oncoming lane. And so, Simon was hit unexpectedly, dying instantly on the spot. While Danny was about to get out of the car to confirm, Logan's subordinate also showed up. After being spotted, Mayer told Jake to flee. The two cars chased each other like cat and dog all the way to a harbor. After a collision, the two used the car's blind spot to threaten him with a gun. Originally, the two had the upper hand, but Jake postured and moved forward, allowing the subordinate to snatch the gun. While Mir was struggling, Jake quickly picked up the gun, but he accidentally pulled the trigger on his own teammate. In the end, the mission was completed, but in exchange for Mayer's sacrifice, making Danny furious. But oh well, what's done is done. Danny told his buddy Davies to find a place to hide temporarily while he would find the Sheik to rescue Hunter. As for Davies, after hiding for only a few days, he felt restless, so he went looking for a den of vice to let off steam. But he didn't expect that the hotel owner himself was the one who informed Logan, so he sent his men over and captured Davies. But while putting him in the car, they were inadvertently careless, allowing Davies to find a chance to counterattack and escape. Davies quickly ran onto the main road to find help, but unexpectedly brought disaster upon himself, getting hit by a car and dying right there. The loss of his friends made Danny increasingly distressed. He decided to find Logan to make peace. He didn't want war anymore, and friends on both sides had already sacrificed everything. So this matter should end here. After that, Hunter was also released, and both agreed. After this, Danny returned to Oman and gave the oil sheik the final confession videos. They would wash their hands and hang up their swords. But just when it seemed everything was over, Danny returned to Australia to reunite with his girlfriend Anne. Danny received a call from Agent Nason. He said that there was still one more person involved in the murder of the sheik's son. Do you remember Harris, who killed the sheik's eldest son? Actually, there was another guy who collaborated with him to kill the old man's son. Hearing this, Danny seemed uninterested because the initial deal was only for 3 people. Now, where did another one pop up from? But he forced him to return to continue the mission, and they threatened to take his girlfriend's life. With no choice, Danny had to compromise once again. He went upstairs to his girlfriend after finding a bullet left behind. He knew they were being watched. Powerless, Danny had to send into Paris so Hunter could protect her. After that, Danny went to find the oil sheik's youngest son to demand an explanation. He first warmed up by taking on some bodyguards before meeting him. Seeing Danny, he remained quite calm and confident. He said that actually Harris was innocent. The person Danny needed to find was the one who published this book. So Danny went to meet Agent A's to seek information. Logan was hiding upstairs unnoticed. After grasping the information they exchanged, Logan quickly gathered his subordinates to the assassination location. They planned to use Danny's own plan against him to capture Danny alive. At this time, the police had surrounded the area and a person wearing a black helmet casually walked in like a fly just as he was about to open it. The bomb planted on the door latch detonated, making him meet his ancestors right there. But when he took off the helmet, he was suddenly attacked by Danny. It turned out he had entered through the back door of the building and reached the 4th target. He gifted him 2 copper candies in the leg. At that moment, Danny's mind flashed back to his past sins, but that was the past. He quickly took a photo as proof and then escaped. By the time Logan arrived, only a body remained and he immediately chased after Danny. At this moment, Danny thought he could escape smoothly, but unexpectedly all the doors were locked. Logan was now close on his heels, but unfortunately for Danny, he jumped onto a building still under construction. With no choice, he had to risk his life once and luckily landed on the scaffolding. A woman nearby saw this and screamed loudly, so Danny pulled the gun from his pants to shut her trap. But it didn't work. But Danny didn't want to harm an innocent person, and in the end, he revealed his position and was shot down by Logan. After that, he arranged for his subordinates to take Danny to an abandoned warehouse. While Logan returned to the room, but he was surprised because Danny had spared this guy's life. Logan couldn't understand and went to interrogate Danny. Facing the gun, he had no choice but to tell the truth. Actually, this whole plan came from the oil sheik. What did he know? He didn't want to harm others, so he only knocked out the 4th target and just took some pictures. After learning the truth, Logan turned his back to leave when a government agent walked in, threatening both men with a gun. He said that all the higher-ups knew about the oil sheik's plan. Originally, they didn't want Logan involved because they wanted to use Danny's hand to eliminate the soldiers who knew about the past events. It turned out the government was behind the struggle for oil territory, and they wanted to cover up this crime. And now that the two of them knew about this, they would have to lose their lives here. Hearing this, Danny turned purple with rage. Taking the opportunity when he wasn't paying attention, he counterattacked. So the three men with different stances started a chaotic fight. After Danny did a stove flip to take down the agent, he was immediately thrown aside by Logan. After that, he picked up the gun and put the agent in his coffin, then pointed the gun, intending to put Danny in his coffin too. But that wasn't happening. Danny was too fast and dangerous and jumped through the window to escape. The next day, he went to find Hunter to discuss plans. They decided to go to the oil sheik, give him the photo of the final target to end this matter. But unexpectedly, Logan also showed up there to take revenge for his friends. He pretended to be DiTi's messenger, delivering the photos to approach the old man and said those photos were fake. Then, using a hidden knife, he sent the old man to his final resting place. But even more surprisingly, the youngest son didn't seem to care much. On top of that, he even proactively gave Logan the $6 million. At this moment, Danny and Hunter also spotted Logan leaving and immediately drove after him. Finally, they confronted each other in a desert. After a chase, Hunter pulled out his piece and shot out the tires of Logan's car, forcing him to get out and surrender. Hunter saw the suitcase full of money and was as happy as if it were harvest season. He said they would decide to split it, and this was the fruit of their labor. But hearing that, Danny didn't want to take the money and told him to throw it away. Hunter couldn't bear to, so he had to take a little for his family. Turns out Logan had dealt with the government agent, so they wouldn't let it rest. Therefore, he needed that money to start a new life. And Danny also understood that from beginning to end, Logan only wanted revenge for his brothers, and now everything was finally over. Therefore, Logan needed to figure out what to do. The movie also ends here.